crime policy in Europe. Building on this work, I tried to spell out the connections between incarceration, poverty, and racial inequality in punishment and inequality in America. Electoral implications were weighed by Chris Eugen and Jeff Manza. Diva Pager examined employer responses to job seekers with prison records. Becky Pettit's research illuminated corners of the population made invisible by incarceration, and Sarah Wakefield and Chris Wildeman examined how children fared when their parents were sent to prison. Research by these scholars was just the tip of a much larger iceberg. A 2014 panel of the National Academy of Sciences, NAS, chaired by Jeremy Travis, reported on the entire research program. The research on U.S. incarceration is what we hope for in the social sciences, pluralistic in method, scientifically rigorous, and relevant to pressing social problems. After social research helped frame mass incarceration as a problem of inequality and injustice, policymakers began to explore ways to reduce incarceration and its pernicious effects. Despite the success of the sociological research, I worried that my own work, statistical analysis of large data sets, filtered out a harsh and complex reality. I was gaining a sense of this reality from my teaching. I had taught at New Jersey State Prison when I was at Princeton, and then in medium security at MCI Norfolk when I moved to Harvard. The men in my classes had led complicated lives. They'd grown up poor and had been on both sides of serious violence. Some were serving life sentences and would die in state custody. They also brought sharp and energetic minds to class. The lives of these men were somehow missing from my research. A clue to solving this problem was offered by Jeremy Travis, who had conducted research on what is called prisoner reentry, the term used by policymakers and researchers for the transition from incarceration back to communities. Travis's book, But They All Come Back, published in 2005, reviewed what we knew about the challenges of leaving incarceration. The topic of prisoner reentry, he said, takes the perspective of those who pass through the system. This perspective raises a new kind of public policy question. What are our obligations to those who are punished? I also use the process of reentry to learn about the perspective of those who are incarcerated. In this book, I report on the journeys of a group of men and women who left the Massachusetts state prison system in 2012 and 2013 and returned to neighborhoods around Boston. Many returned home to live with their families. Some had no home to return to and spent much of the year in Boston's shelters and transitional housing. All the people I interviewed, however, were trying to find a place in society after incarceration. If they were not yet home after release from prison, they were at least trying to go homeward. Several papers published by the Reentry Study research team analyzed the survey data we collected. These were mostly statistical studies of outcomes like recidivism, housing, and employment. This book aims to capture more of the lives of the people we interviewed. In taking this approach, I hope not only to meet Travis's challenge to be curious about those who are incarcerated, their families, and their neighborhoods, but also to provide a window on the larger phenomenon of mass incarceration. While conducting research for this book, I made several visits to Addis Ababa for a project studying justice institutions in Ethiopia. At dinner one evening with a few Ethiopian researchers, one of them, Mulugeta, told me about a colleague at his research institute, a German anthropologist. One day the anthropologist was in a remote area driving through a small village. His car fatally struck a small child who had strayed onto the road. The girl's parents ran outside to see what had happened, and a crowd quickly formed around the anthropologist. He asked that the police be called, but was told that there were no police there. The village dealt with matters like this by itself. The anthropologist was told that he could go, but that they would send for him in a few days. Later that week, a message came that he must return, and he was told to return alone. He went to Mulugeta and asked what he should do. "You have to go back to the village," said Mulugeta. So he returned. When he arrived, he was escorted to a meeting with the elders. They told him to pay $2,500.